This season for Survivorman, we shot 9 episodes in 9 separate locations. And since then, the response has been nothing short of fantastic. But there's been a ton of questions. How do I get the shots? Am I really alone? And what kind of backup do I have if I get into serious trouble? This is a look at how we plan Survivorman. How we take care of logistics, how I film it, and how I keep myself out of trouble. Which isn't always the case. This is a look at behind the scenes of Survivorman. Survivorman has a simple concept. I get dropped alone in secluded wilderness areas and left to survive, usually without food, water, matches, or shelter. Okay, once they gave me a wrecked airplane to sleep in. I have to make do with whatever I go in with and film it all myself. 7 days later, I either walk out on my own or the crew will come in to rescue me, if they can find me. From the muddy swamps of Georgia to the shifting Arctic ice, I've been to some pretty wild places. For now, that's only North and Central America.
I'm dangerously hot. Say I'm not gonna sleep tonight. A lot of people are bitten by the little pond vipers.
Hey, if this was just about survival, I'd light a fire and sit and wait for help. But it's TV, and I want to show many ways to survive in the deserts, the jungles, and the Canadian forests. A lot of what I do is film so we can learn together what I do right and what I do wrong, where I choose to stay and where I choose to leave. I'm not the world's best survival guy, but I've got a film to make. I'm taking you along for the ride. That said, once you get good at this survival stuff, you can do a lot more than sit and wait for rescue. The production team is constantly dreaming up more challenging and exciting locations and survival ordeals. And that's how it all starts.
I mean, ladies and I'd like to consider Australia.
I think
David Brady and I, along with my survival consultant, Mike Corrali, pore over the maps and endlessly debate the possibilities for my survival ordeals. How I get in, whether by jeep, mountain bike, or camel, is hashed out in the scenarios for survival dreamed up. Each separate location that's decided upon during these meetings would define the terms for survival and even the items I could have in there with me, always going for as much variety as possible.
In the area of Samburu land.
Would be.
How difficult is it to get to New Zealand?
That is exotic. You can't even get down from the mountains there. Oh, and here, this would be very cool. I mean, it would be a major expedition though. You go from high Andes, Alpine, you just start walking this way and you're in the deepest, darkest Amazon. Yeah. It's like you go through 4 seasons, you know, just going straight down.
These two guys are quite happy to suggest the most remote and dangerous areas they can think of to send me.
For that, tying in with the Aboriginals and going to Sepik River, that is cool.
You don't get killed.
No, I should be okay. There's a lot of missionaries in there. We can make contacts with some missionaries and go in with them.
Once we've picked the countries and areas to send me, the flights are booked and I've got to ready my gear. 3, 4, sometimes even 5 cameras will fill my pack, along with heavy batteries and nearly 40 hours of tape stock. The load often comes in around 50 to 60 pounds. Often I'm asked if I train my stomach to go without food, but the truth is, if I eat big before I go in, then I just feel hungrier quicker. And if I fast ahead of time, well, that just prolongs the punishment. So I eat just as if all were normal. I do, however, try to train my body for the endurance and strength I'll need to haul around the camera gear on little to no reserve food energy.
It's not hard to choose locations. The world is full of beautiful and remote, albeit potentially dangerous and challenging wild areas. My mandate was to pick a location that offered up the most variety of survival possibilities.
The magnificent vast whiteness of the high Arctic is juxtaposed brilliantly against the murky, muddy textures of the Georgian swamps. The spiny and dry harshness of the Sonoran Desert in Arizona was a precursor to the crawling jungle floor of the most remote part of Costa Rica. But even in Costa Rica, the wildness was split between the jungle and the magnificent Pacific Ocean. From the far north to Central America, there are still many great wild areas, just waiting to test my ability to survive.
I've been fortunate on some of my survival ordeals to have been joined by a killer crew of camera personnel and survival safety experts. Their job, other than shooting the opening scenes and dropping me off for 7 days alone, is to head out and get some great beauty shots.
So this tape has sync audio that cuts with this mini DV camera up here.
Come aboard and have one more drink or something to eat, you can, but otherwise we're starting the experiment. Okay?
Okay,
Great.
Do you know what we're doing here, Les? I know I know you want to go, but I'm not confident that we have enough stuff figured out.
Even though we tried to set up emergency radio contact, the radios proved useless once down on the humid ocean of Central America.
They're not even all that far from me, and they can't read the radio. This is weird. A little discomforting.
With the crew many miles away, there were plenty of times when I felt the chances I was taking to film these survival odysseys were a little too risky.
And look how close they are. What's going to happen when they get farther away?
More important than anything else, the crew was to be my emergency rescue. Out in the ocean off the coast of Belize, they would finally earn that title.
Les felt the full blast of that squall that just came through, but it's bad enough that it could have driven us apart and made them almost impossible to find in the dark.
The red light on his raft and even the strobe was not easy to see with the rain coming down. So I think we both feel better that we're not actually going to lose him.
You can do it.
I'm a vegetarian.
I know. You had fish the other night, though. You had catfish. Same thing. Just think of it like it's a piece of catfish.
At the end of each ordeal, I would finally have the last laugh on some of my crew members.
And you'll be able to say you ate rattlesnake. There you go. Down the hatch. Down the hatch.
The concepts of wilderness survival do translate across the globe. But when I get into the jungles of Costa Rica, I don't know what I can eat or what I can't eat. I don't know what's slightly poisonous or what's going to kill me. For that, I need to turn to the local experts.
Like Three Rivers Charlie in the swamps of Georgia. Charlie's passion is the waterways of the Altamaha River Basin. 11 people have been attacked by alligators in the last 7 years, and Charlie related the dangers to me like it was a walk in the park on a lazy southern Sunday.
What's the likelihood of gators coming up into these?
Pretty fair, especially at night, since they're nocturnal hunters, and the turtles like to lay up on the limbs, and gators will come in and try and find them dinner for the evening.
Oh, they'll eat turtles?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'll crunch turtle shell in a heartbeat.
Action,
Closer to the North Pole than anywhere else, it was Inuit elder Sam Umek who gave me my crash course in Arctic survival. This guy was born in an igloo and spent his first 12 winters living in one. For Sam and his family, seal hunting was akin to running out to the store for a loaf of bread. He gave me no breaks on learning the necessary lessons of survival in the Arctic. His rule was watch me once, now you do it. This man hasn't written books or produced films on survival, but ask anyone who you turn to learn desert survival, and there is only one answer. If you want the best, it's David Halliday.
So you're just going on the outside bends.
He was also consultant for the movie Castaway.
Tropical lilies. So you are a rich man.
My 3 days on the land with David were spent in a master-student relationship. Now I've chopped some film out and sped this up, but watch how long I spend working on the hand drill.
Too close, but I'm gonna go ahead. Ready? Yeah.
And now watch again, as David turns my dust into a red-hot coal. All the while, he's reassuring me that I'm the one who got the spark. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you had spark.
We even took the time to learn a little desert musicianship. Without gaining local knowledge from these experts, I'd survive all right, but it wouldn't be pretty.
After a week with the experts, I leave for my solo survival. You know, each episode is based on a realistic situation gone wrong. Canoeing, sea kayaking, climbing. I'm sure sooner or later someone's going to suggest parachuting.
All right, here we go.
To make an entrance into the world of survival, it only makes sense to head into each area in a manner fitting to the challenge, like whitewater canoeing in the waters of northern Ontario. And since I know the Canadian Shield country well, the producers felt I should have the extra challenge of making it back out on my own.
Even the most experienced paddlers can be hit with the "it can't happen to me" syndrome.
They knew where they dropped me off and which way I would need to travel. But apart from that, I'd be on my own.
In most cases, on a river like this, canoe can be gone for days downstream. The camera crew leaves me alone now, completely alone. I'm soaked to the bone. It looks like it's going to rain, and the sun's about to set. 7 more days.
No water, predatory mountain lions. The canyonlands of Utah are world famous for their slick rock mountain biking. And putting that scenario to the test meant I would have the added advantage of 30 pounds of usable rubber, metal, and cables. In this big open area, the crew would have no problem keeping track of me. I do carry an emergency radio for backup, but here in the canyons they were useless, being impeded by the high rock walls. The team has to capture my opening scenes and then leave me to fend for myself.
For the next 7 days, alone.
The only way to simulate survival in a life raft is to jump in. For this survival odyssey, I would need a 24-hour watch of a rescue boat. But like the Canyonlands, our radios were useless, and far too many times I was left with no contact to my only link to safety. The best way to document survival, I think, is to actually do it. You gotta pay attention to detail. You can't just design a scene and film it. You've gotta live it, or it's not authentic. For 10 straight hours, I'll push this snowmobile farther and farther into the barren Arctic, where I'll be left alone to survive.
This is the Arctic, at the top of our world. It's a changing landscape of barren land, snow-covered mountains, and vast expanses of constantly shifting ocean ice.
With dog teams unfortunately relegated to mostly tourism needs, the snowmobile is the vehicle of choice in the Arctic now, and they break down a lot. Here, my challenge was simply to walk back to town, a daunting task given the challenges of the Arctic landscape.
Population densities in the world. To go out on the land, you ride the knife edge of trouble. You can get disoriented by whiteouts and get lost. You can fall through the ice into freezing water. Traditionally, they use dog sleds to get around, but for the most part, this is the modern, slightly noisier way to get from one place to another. Of course, dogs don't break down.
Swamps and deserts, jungles and mountains, the high Arctic. Each ecosystem has its own special challenges and dangers. In the far north, you've got to have a fire. In the desert, well, it's all about water.
Wilderness survival is about dealing with adversity. And even though I would have preferred perfect weather for the sake of filming it all, Mother Nature is not part of the production team.
It's too cold. Too cold. Oh, my hands are just frozen. Hang on.
I think the toughest weather to deal with for running cameras is the cold.
Oh, that's cold. Okay.
You just don't feel like touching your fingers to frozen camera switches or putting a frozen battery next to your skin to warm it up.
Oh, it's all about the cold. Another frigid night. Clouds came in. They brought with them a storm. Winds blowing fiercely from the south.
I didn't sleep much last night, but when I did, I'd wake up really quick with that chill running right down my spine.
Always making things more difficult were the surprise storms, freezing rain, blizzards, downpours, and whiteouts.
As you can see, the white did get whiter. I can't even see the mountains in behind me now. The wind has picked up as well, and my feet are cold and my body's starting to get chilled, even though I'm protected down in here with fur and a windbreak. It doesn't seem to matter.
You know, I've been 3 days now on this mountaintop, and it has rained, drizzled, or misted almost nonstop.
Well, it was freezing rain or snow all night long.
It's been raining all night long, nonstop.
Just imagine turning your garden hose on full, on top of you, standing outside, spread eagle. Just see how long you can stand there with that kind of cold water coming down on you. That's what it's like here, right now.
It's a downpour. In fact, just a few moments ago, it was also thick snow as well.
At the other end of the scale was the real threat of heat stroke and dehydration, and often just plain exhaustion.
All right, well, sharks or no sharks, my biggest concern right now is heat stroke. It's really starting to beat down on me. I'm gonna go in the water, back up into that raft and try to get into the shade, try to stay a little cooler. Because this is getting steamy and dangerously hot. This is heat stroke hot.
What most people seem to fear are the creepy crawlies, those that bite, those that sting, and those that will attack.
Even those little guys hurt. Out here, everything sticks you with something. If it's not biting you or stinging you, it's just plain stabbing you. Ow. All that there, that's favorite spot of palm vipers. They just sleep in there. They make their little nests. So you gotta hit them as you go by, and a lot of people are bitten by the little palm vipers.
They love to come in and just wait at the bottom of the trees, and I guess hoping for a young one to fall down.
Ready for a war against the bugs.
My most worrisome time was spent in the middle of polar bear territory.
I'm in probably the thickest polar bear area around here. I'm beside an ice crack. They like to hunt the ice cracks looking for seals. I'm beside an iceberg. They like to circle the icebergs looking for seals. And I'm sitting here with a big hunk of raw seal meat. You know, this is not the most intelligent thing I've ever done. His head would have been about here, and his back end way back here. This is a big bear. What's important about these tracks is that they're only 30 feet from where I've been sleeping, and you thought I was kidding about polar bears. Yeesh. Look at the size of these things. Right here you can even see the impression of them. Wow.
Well, next to the will to live, I think fire is the single most important survival skill. When successful, it made my life a lot easier. Let's see, so I've got my fire bow, the itsy bitsy spider move. Sacrifice one of these pieces of tissue. I don't like playing with gasoline.
And although they said I can't hunt with the rifle, they didn't say I couldn't start a fire with it.
Guess I should have practiced this one at home. Leave a little bit of a sort of funnel. Let's try that again. Ah, come on, it's easy. A good wad of sock lint. Now this method I'm more familiar with. Don't ask me how I know that. This looks good. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, baby. Ha 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 ha, success. Oh, that's beautiful. That was sweet. Oh, let's get this gas can out of here. You know, there are many ways to make survival shelters. But the first way is just sleeping right out in the open, which isn't actually shelter at all, if you can sleep. Oops, got the wrong side up. When I do finally settle in, it'll be something like this. Crabs and spiders and snakes. Everything comes alive. Get it. This is horrible. Everything moves, everything's crawling. I think there's army ants on the tree because they're starting to get bitten all over. And scorpions, tarantulas this big.
It occurred to me while sleeping here, even with the loaded rifle, if I wake up and a polar bear is breathing down on top of me, I don't stand a chance.
In a couple of hours, or at least when this fire dies down, I'll just sit here and wait for it. I'll then push all the coals up against the big rock, take all these boughs, put them down, and sleep on top with a nice warm bed. Basically all the heat from the rock coming up through the boughs. The next is just building what you can with whatever is around you. Classic A-frame, or lean-to.
Every location is different, but if I'm to survive 7 days in Canada's north in the fall, shelter is a high priority.
Actually kind of poke the branches in so that they're nice and smooth like this. You don't really have to, you can just throw them on, but this way all the rain sort of goes with the flow of the boughs.
I shivered through last night because my shelter was thrown together so quickly to beat nightfall. I'm hustling now to insulate it, and the bike frame makes a great supporting wall. The Inuit have been relying on igloos for thousands of years. It's the perfect shelter. Snow is an incredible insulator, and the dome shape can withstand severe storms. Built properly, an igloo is an amazing marriage of function and form.
Of course, if you've got something man-made you can use for shelter, well, go for it. Let's just see what I can do with this guy.
Real simple equation. You sweat, you die. Let's see what I can get out of this guy now. There.
A little tape, a little button rock. The rock in. If you're lucky, the land will provide a natural shelter for you, saving you a lot of work. This may not look very comfortable. That's because it isn't.
I may feel a little safer from polar bears now, but I'm sleeping under a massive glacier. Millions of tons of ice above my head that could come down at any time.
Good night. Oh, this is kind of spooky.
I think this cave is ready for an extreme makeover. One of the fire rocks just blew up on me. Oh, it's gonna feel a little strange sleeping in here. All right. Without water, in 3 days, you'll go unconscious. In 7 days, you'll probably die.
not salty, nice and fresh.
Hunger will make you do a lot of things, but you've got to get over plate fright. It's not about putting maggots in a blender and chugging them down. It's about eating what you have to survive. Okay, ceremonial eating of the eyeball. Looks like I got me dinner.
Pull off the head.
That's it. Ow! Like to pinch onto your tongue.
Well, what I'm not going to eat is the entrails.
The need for food. This is where my filmmaking and my actual survival meet.
See you alive. So that's all I do is eat it? Open it. Got it open?
Yeah. Look at this big juicy guy.
I'm not gonna eat the head. Don't ask me why, just don't want to eat the head. Just like chicken meat. Looks to be the heart. Nope. That's the liver. Ugh. Can't believe I just did that.
The whole thing?
So, suck inside first.
Suck the inside out first.
No.
Wow. Well, that's pretty good. Wow. I'm full.
Take a couple of these wires. That ought to work. And some of that.
I've tried hard to walk a balance of survival methods. Those that take ingenuity, turning something useless into something useful, and those that are based on ancient primitive earth skills. Both can be utilized for survival, and often they work together.
There. Not so bad. I can see anyway, and it won't bother my eyes so much now.
See what I can use. That could come in handy. I now have a very functional three-pronged spear. All this wiring could make great cordage. Just enough wire to make a bed. I would grab the stick from up in the jungle and just starting to thinking about like sort of projectile. Take the elastic band from Scooby-Doo. Let's try this. That could be a fish. It has a neat trick
what you can do in case you need a needle and thread. If you're really careful, ow! Really careful. You can actually pull yourself out a needle and thread. A lot of archaeology is based on what they find in terms of stone tools, rock tools, things that are chipped into other things. And the Paiute around here and the Anastasi were both terrific at what's called flint knapping. This is a piece of rock just from laying around in this area, and this is a hammer rock, which is an actual artifact from this area, just laying on the ground. You see the chipped end. It was used for turning big pieces of rock into little pieces of rock, into knife points, arrowheads, and spear tips, and those kinds of things. That's really what flint knapping is, so I'll see if I can use it. Aha! Success! See that? That little guy is very, very sharp. This thing is so sharp, just cuts right through.
But the hardest part of being out here, it's not the cold, it's not survival, it's not existing without food in my belly. It's running the cameras. They are a pain, to put it lightly. Oh well, that's what I'm here for. Damn it, I did press record.
Perhaps more challenging than starting a fire from scratch, sheltering from the elements, or catching wild food is filming it all. Setting up or tearing down all of my camera gear takes up about 65% of my time, making survival a lot harder than it actually should be. I'll see you on the bottom.
This shot, which was simply to illustrate where I had to go to get off of a mountaintop, meant setting up the camera, giving my message, and heading off out of sight. That meant, of course, eventually coming all the way back to pick up the camera and head down the same direction all over again, this time for real. Shots like these may come across your screen taking only seconds, but they can actually take hours to execute. And all the while I'm thinking, I've got to get making my shelter.
Wow.
For this shot, I elected to climb through the bush and walk back towards the camera on an untrampled trail. I want you to get the actual look and feel of what I was going through. Now, I've just edited out about 5 minutes of bush scrambling in 4 feet of soft snow. I think it's worth it, but it's a lot of work. Whenever out there, my filming goal is to bring you there with me, to make you feel like you're part of it all. So what has been dubbed my body mount enables me to travel along, talk to the camera, and show the surroundings all at the same time. And it doesn't have the same shaky handheld feel often associated with a small camera.
To get the good shots, you've just got to put in the effort. Check out some of these moments.
Testing. Test. 1, 2. Test.
I can't tell. I wasn't expecting this in the swamp.
All right, well, that's how it looks when I get it right. But you gotta remember, I'm all alone out there. So only my editor and I get to share in some of my more colorful moments. Oh, of course the iris was all wrong. Oops. Let's try that again. Damn it. Crap. This is what happens when I hurry. If I keep my eyes focused, it's very faint. But what I'm... Old snowmobile trails. Old snowmobile tracks. Come on. Try that again, shall we? Which is a welcome for me. Welcome. Try it again. Almost everything moving wants to bite. Try it again. Bone chilling. Oh, let me try that again. I'm getting waterlogged. Whoa. Let's try it again. Well, thanks for taking a look at how Survivorman is made. The challenges and the ordeals that made this season a success. Where do I head next? Well, keep watching. Ow. 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 Oh, that hurt. Ow. I'm so scared. And the response has been nothing short of a car driving up the hill. She's... Back it up. Constantly dreaming up more challenging and... It's one sentence. The production team is constantly dreaming up more challenging and exciting.
You're such a loser.
I know. I get dropped in a secluded wilderness area and forget my lines. To the shifting Arctic from the muddy swamps of Georgia to the shifting Arcticava, to the shifting Arctic ice. She sells by the seashores. From the muddy swamps of Georgia. I feel like I'm stripping for you. We haven't even had beer yet. That's my happy song because the sun's out. Off to bed. Ow. 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 Oh, that hurt.